What's up, everybody? This is Tom with highscorereviews.com, here with Pro Evolution Soccer 2015, or to be more precise, the demo of Pro Evolution Soccer 2015. It's available as of this week on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. I'm here with the PS4 version. I've been lucky enough to have access to the demo for the last week or so I've been playing a fair bit of it, but I thought with it being available to the public and also with the FIFA 15 full game coming out, in fact it came out yesterday as of this recording in the US, it's out on Friday in the UK, and my recording unfortunately started slightly after kickoff here, but as you can see it is El Clasico, it is Real Madrid versus Barcelona, and I just had an attack. I'm playing as Real Madrid, and I think Bravo was in goal and made a decent save. But anyway, quite a lot of interest in PES this year. It won Best Sports Game at Gamescom back in August, which was pretty good going considering FIFA obviously had a massive presence at that show. And as somebody who, if you've listened to our latest podcast, hasn't really warmed to what I've played of FIFA 15 just yet, PES, thus far, based on this demo, I'm really enjoying. And I have played some of the full game of FIFA. I was lucky enough to get that through from EA today, so you can look for a full review of that, possibly, or hopefully by the end of this week. But Pro Evo not out till November. It's not really going head to head with FIFA in terms of release this year, but gives them a bit more time to add some polish. Now, you may well have read my review of PES 2014 on the PS3, and that was a game which initially I felt very strongly about. I thought it played a really good game of football. I thought it looked nice, but it then became apparent that there were severe problems with it. The deeper you got into the game, the more you realised that in terms of modes, in terms of reasons for you to keep playing, there just wasn't enough there. Master League was dated, the online play was very archaic. Be a Legend, or whatever it's called, was, you know, a poor man's Be a Pro, let's be honest. And there just wasn't quite enough there. There were a lot of frustrations with the gameplay, goalkeepers were poor, shooting was unsatisfying, and then you had the presentational issues. The frame rate was appalling, the UI was an absolute shambles. There were a lot of problems with PES 14, and the longer you spent with it, the more they reared their ugly, ugly heads. But as the first PES on the current generation of systems, as you can see, the frame rate problems have been completely evaporated. This game runs really, really well. It's super, super smooth, and it looks great. There is a point in this video where I give you a nice close-up of all these world-class players that were on show, but it does look very, very nice. Player models are terrific. FIFA, I think, has had this issue where they all look a bit waxworky. The animations can be a little bit robotic, I think, not necessarily while you're actually playing, but if you really focus in on players during replays and things, and obviously not everyone does that, but it does expose the fact that nobody really looks that real. You know, you can tell who they're meant to be, but they're almost caricatures of who they're meant to be, whereas, as you'll see in a bit, PES has nailed the likenesses, at least of these two sides. And there's a decent selection of teams in this demo. Bayern Munich are in here, Atletico Madrid are in here, there are a few odd ones like Athletic Bilbao and Napoli, but there's a decent selection of sides. And I'm not very good at it. I'm still getting my head around it, my hands around it, so to speak. Obviously, as someone who's played a lot of FIFA 14, that's a game that you kind of start to get into a rhythm. You can anticipate how the matches are going to play out. With PES, I'm still kind of working it out. Don't worry, there are goals in the second half. There are a couple of goals. But I'm really enjoying how it plays so far. It's quite a measured game. You know, the build-up play I find really quite satisfying. You can build from the back very effectively. The passing is nice and crisp. It's a very responsive game. I definitely have had issue with FIFA sometimes taking a bit longer to respond to a button command than it should have done. Here's the goal coming up there. Toni Kroos winning the ball off Xavi. He's played a lovely ball. Ronaldo has timed his run to perfection. Casillas has committed himself, and Ronaldo has punished him in emphatic circumstances here. He's lobbed the Barcelona skipper, and it's not Iker Casillas or Victor Valdez, and I'm talking out of my arse, and let's just watch the gameplay. There's Casillas, he's my goalkeeper. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's, was it Claudio Bravo or someone in the Barcelona goal these days? I bought a couple of goalkeepers in the summer, I kind of lost track. But yes, lovely ball from Cruz. Lofted through balls. From what I've found so far, not as OP as they are in FIFA. They're still very useful. They're very effective. And of course, you know, I am controlling world-class players here. So here we go. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the replay stuff. I'm working out what everything does. There's slow motion options and different camera views. Nothing that we haven't seen before, but we'll scroll through these phases when me, as of a few hours ago, decided it would be a good time to scroll through the faces. I think the game looks really nice, animation wise as well. Right, here we go. So there's Iker Casillas. Not bad. Pretty good, I'd say, in fact. Better than not bad. Getting a nice long look at him. There's Pepe. Suitably mental. Ramos, that's a pretty good Ramos. Some really good hair in this game. The hair looks pretty good. There's Carvajal. Marcelo. It's pretty good Marcelo. Xabi Alonso. Obviously not there anymore, but as of this demo, he is. James. Toni Kroos. Gareth Bale. It's a pretty good Gareth Bale. And look at that. He has just seen a banana. Oh yes. Cristiano Ronaldo. Perfectly groomed, as ever. Looks pretty good. Look at those eyebrows. And there's Benzema. So Real Madrid are looking pretty good. Here's that goalkeeper that isn't the goalkeeper I said he was. Here's some more players. Here's PK. Mascherano's in there. He just missed him there. Dani Alves. Jordi Alba. Busquets. Here's Xavi. Still playing. Iniesta. Still receding. Suarez. That's a very good Suarez there. Neymar. Nailed the hair. I mean, I don't know if you can see it on this, but there's even where he would often wear his ear ring, ear jewellery, whatever. There's actually little marks in his ear where those would go. It's quite astonishing. It's almost creepy, the level of detail. And there's Messi, arguably a better looking Messi than the Messi in FIFA, and it's a bit embarrassing because obviously Messi is the cover star for FIFA. The cover star for PES this year is Mario Götze, which I think is quite a nice choice. I mean, he scored the winner in the World Cup final. They haven't gone for the big sort of prima donna superstar that you would normally associate with a football video game. Not that Messi's a prima donna, but they haven't gone for someone super obvious, although I do long for the days when it was Thierry Henry on the cover of PES. Still the best Pro Evo ever in my view, Pro Evo 5. But this is making a good first impression on me. So the AI seems decent. Barcelona play as you would expect them to. I'm not sure what difficulty this was on. It was just the default setting when I booted up the demo. They're not great. They didn't create many chances. But hey, Barcelona at times in the big games last season did struggle to create chances. So there's that. PK getting a good strong tackle. I find the tackling's pretty good. I think it's pretty satisfying. It's hold down X to put pressure on. There's a decent strike. And the goalkeepers are a huge improvement over what we've seen in basically any PES game ever. My second goal, I think their goalkeepers should do better with. It gets kind of a weak hand on it, as you'll see, but just in general, their handling, they just feel more solid. There's an example of the through balls not being quite as OP as in FIFA, where in FIFA it seems like the trajectory, the power, everything about the lofted through balls is pretty much dead on every time, whereas in this there's a bit more nuance to it from the feel of things. Now, I'm not sure I'll demonstrate it in this match, but there's also manual controls mode, which returns. That's when you can, if you're familiar with the manual controls in FIFA, which is an option in the settings, in PES you can kind of employ those tactics on the fly. I think it's L2, you hold that down, a little arrow will appear at your player's feet, and you can then manually direct exactly where you want the ball to go, whether you're passing, shooting, crossing, whatever. The corner system is exactly the same as it was in PES 14. You've kind of got an arc, and you can adjust the angle and the trajectory of that arc, and you want the ball to go. And that is Ronaldo heading right. Now I'm going to quickly show you some of the game plan stuff. Again, very similar to PES 14, but because the frame rate isn't an abomination. You know, the PS4 and the Xbox One actually have a bit of RAM. It doesn't run like arse, so that's good. And I got a bit OCD about the fact that Xabi Alonso isn't a Real Madrid player anymore. I bought on Luka Modric. I don't know if this is just the demo, or if the full game will also not really have much in the way of, you know, cutscene stuff. I mean, there was no at the start of this match. There's no seeing people in the tunnel and seeing them walk out. There's obviously no substitution animations there, but that might show up in the full game. And here's the goal. Bravo, a bit disappointed that he doesn't keep that out, you would think, but I like the celebrations in this game. Obviously there's a real novelty and a charm to the custom celebrations in FIFA, which is great fun. I'm not going to take anything away from that. That was a great idea, and they're really milking it, but who can blame them? But I quite like them in PES, the fact that they're scripted, because they just can really frame them all really dramatically, and the camera work's quite good, and I don't know, there's just something a bit more dramatic about these kind of celebrations as opposed to, you know, all the ridiculous things that people tend to do on FIFA. And I said in my review of PES 14 that these two games are now taking quite a different approach to things. FIFA is kind of almost the Ford Super Sunday of video games. Big blockbuster goals, just, you know, branding all over the place, all about the big players. It's a whole lot of fun, it really is. But PES just seems a bit more measured, almost like a tactical Champions League night. Here's Ronaldo, can't quite get away from I think it was Mascherano. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Mascherano had a few yards in him, to be fair. I put in a foul on Xavi in a minute, I think, and that was a bit of a ruckus, which was quite cool to see. I think this might be it. Here we are. Comes straight through the back of him there, and tension high, and the Barcelona players aren't happy with Toni Kroos, and he's been booked by the referee. But PES is a really good game based on what I played. Plays really well, really like it. Looks great, runs absolutely perfectly, which is an absolute blessing. PES 14 in many ways felt like early access for this game, which really sucks because PES 14 was a full price game, and it really did feel like, especially having now played some of this, this is the game that PES 14 I think was trying to be, and it's great that they seem to have got there based on what I've played. Now I'm really curious to see, is there enough to this game beyond the fact that it plays a really good game of football? That has always been the case with PES, even in the heyday when it played great. Ultimately that alone was not enough. It also happened to have Master League mode at its peak, which was great. So I'm really hoping that Master League is as endearing in PES 15 as it was back in the heyday of the franchise. And if it is, and they spruce up some of the other modes a bit and get the online sorted, this could be something quite special. It's never going to outsell FIFA, but I think that anyone who has ever enjoyed PES could be extremely happy with this. Nice short corner routine there. What I quite like, actually, saying on the short corners, is that you can, rather than just call the guy over like on FIFA, you can actually take manual control of the guy you're bringing over and position him however you want, and then play the short corner. So you can get different angles on things, and it's just that extra level of control and kind of nuance, like I said earlier, that I think is setting PES apart at the moment from what FIFA's doing. But let's not pretend that FIFA doesn't play a good game of football. I mean, FIFA, yes, it's trying to be the Super Sunday of football games, but it still plays a very good game of football. But PES is looking good this year. I'm very excited to play more. The demo is up. I might do a write-up of my impressions of the demo in a bit more detail, because this has been a little bit rushed. But hopefully you've got a decent look at how the game's playing and how it's looking. And it's out in November on PS4 and Xbox One and their predecessors. Check out highscorereviews.com. Thanks for watching.